You're leaving me for her. At first, I thought someone had left their TV on too loud. Then I realized the yelling was real, and it was coming from outside. I peeked through my front window and saw my neighbor standing barefoot on her porch in pajama pants and a tank top, screaming at her husband. Meanwhile, he was dragging a giant suitcase to his car and completely ignoring her. She was shouting things like, "So you're just gonna walk out after everything? Be a man for once and say it to my face. You'll regret this when she leaves you too." Yes, she. Not even 10 minutes after her husband sped off, and I mean sped off, tires screeching and everything, another car pulled up, a silver BMW. Out stepped her sister, dressed like she'd just come from a Beverly Hills brunch casting call. I'm not kidding. My jaw dropped. My neighbor stormed off the porch and yelled, "Of course you show up now!" Her sister fired right back. He needed someone who listens to him for once. Y'all. I nearly choked on my iced coffee. The two of them immediately started going at it, yelling, pointing fingers, airing out years of resentment in the middle of the street. At one point, my neighbor shoved her sister's shoulder. I had one foot out the door, ready to intervene if things turned physical. At the same time, I was frantically texting my husband updates like I was reporting breaking news. Then, in the middle of all the chaos, my neighbor screamed, "He was my husband, and you were supposed to be my sister." The sister responded with shocking calm after all the shouting. "He told me you would do this." Then she got back in her car and drove away. My neighbor just stood there, stunned. The fight seemed to drain right out of her. She watched the car disappear and slowly started calming down herself. I figured reality was finally sinking in. After a few minutes, she went back inside. I thought that was the end of it. Nope. About 30 minutes later, I heard loud glass clinking outside my office window. I looked out over our side yard and into hers. Since I'm upstairs, I can see pretty much everything. There she was again. This time, she was tossing empty wine bottles into her trash can one by one, slowly, dramatically, almost like she wanted someone to hear. Eventually, she sat down on the curb and lit a cigarette. I've lived next to her for years and had never seen her smoke before. My cat and I sat in the window watching like it was the season finale of a TV show. Since then, nobody has come back. Her husband's car is still gone. Her sister hasn't returned. She closed all the blinds, and the house has been completely silent. I honestly don't know if I witnessed a cheating scandal, a sister betrayal, a midlife crisis, or all three at once. What I do know is that I'm making popcorn tomorrow, in case there's a part two. You're leaving me for her? Part two. I decided to check on her. I brought over a plate of pasta, some steak my husband and I had made, with garlic bread and a few brownies he'd baked earlier. Nothing fancy. Just something warm and comforting. I wasn't planning to stay. Just drop off the food and head home. When she answered the door, she did it surprisingly quickly. I was honestly a little nervous she might mistake me for someone else and unleash another round of yelling, so I mentally braced myself. Thankfully, that didn't happen. She looked exhausted, completely drained, but she smiled when she saw the food and said, "You didn't have to do that." Then she invited me inside. For context, I'd only been inside her house once or twice before. The lights were dim. We sat at her kitchen table. She already had a drink poured, so... Yeah, I asked how she was doing. Not directly referencing everything that had happened, just checking in. She let out a long sigh. Then she started talking, and talking and talking. She confirmed what most of us had already suspected. Her husband and her sister had been having an affair. She found out completely by accident after seeing a message pop up on his iPad. From there, everything unraveled. She confronted him. He confessed. Chaos followed. The shouting match I witnessed was the aftermath. But then the conversation took a turn I wasn't expecting. She said, "I mean, yeah, I made it really easy for him to cheat. I haven't been emotionally available for months. She elaborated on that thought, explaining that she'd been focused on herself and knew he'd been feeling neglected. Then she added, I just didn't think he'd be that dumb. At that point, it stopped feeling like some dramatic neighborhood spectacle and started feeling painfully human. When she talked about her sister, she confirmed it was indeed her. According to her, there had always been competition between them, jealousy, resentment, a constant back and forth dynamic that stretched all the way back to childhood. Honestly, it sounded like she'd already come to terms with the sister part. Most of her anger seemed directed at her husband. Then she admitted something else. She said she'd emotionally checked out of the marriage months ago, but stayed, because she wasn't willing to be the one who ended it. In her words, I like having the upper hand in every exit. And there I was, sitting across from my neighbor, while she casually unpacked all of this. She talked for nearly 20 straight minutes, hardly stopping. The longer she spoke, the more complicated the situation became. She didn't sound heartbroken. She sounded strategic, like she'd already analyzed every angle and started managing the fallout. At one point, she even admitted she'd told her mother not to contact her sister because she wanted to make it clear whose side the family was taking. Given everything she'd told me about their history, I understood the impulse. There was obviously a lot of pain involved, but still it was complicated. That's when I realized something. Yes, her husband cheated. Yes, her sister betrayed her. Both of those things are undeniably awful. But the more she talked, the more I felt like nobody involved was completely innocent. Every person in this situation had contributed to the mess in one way or another. And honestly, I still don't know whether the husband or the sister bears more blame. What I'm struggling to explain is that while she absolutely is a victim of betrayal, there was something unsettling about the way she discussed everything. A calmness, an almost detached certainty, like she'd always known this outcome was inevitable. Not if it happened,